and welcome to Joey's Spotlight, where we have people from all different backgrounds and professions come in and talk about the need for animal advocacy. And so today's guests, we are very excited to welcome Myrna Lucoff and Mr. Scott Fine. Why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Hi, Colleen. Good morning. Hi, Myrna. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. We've heard recently of some members that have had issues with care credit and a couple of situations that involve potential predatory lending practices. Can we start out with just a basic definition of what that entails? What is expected of people? What is demanded of people? And how they get in trouble?
Well, it depends on the circumstances, but the most common issues that we run across are people that are either purchasing an animal, adding to their family, or trying to save the life of an animal at a veterinary clinic or someplace that they feel might help them. And sometimes the animals are really, really expensive. But you fall in love. So what's your answer? If you don't have the money, but you really must have this animal, or if you don't have the money, but you want to save the animal's life at a veterinary clinic, the answer is to get financing to pay for this. That's what they push at you. Put it on a credit card or pay for this, with our in-house financing or our financing that we have for you, which is Care Credit or sometimes Comenity Bank or Synchrony. There's a ton of different banks that will lend on these types of situations, but it becomes a problem because you don't know what you're buying as far as, especially with veterinary clinic care, and you don't know the health of the animal when you're purchasing that animal. So we have found, working with other animal advocate attorneys, kind of a niche way of getting in and defending people that have been taken advantage of in this type of way, that using your emotional duress to force you to take out a loan at crazy interest rates and impossible terms almost, all to save the life of an animal. And sometimes it doesn't even work and you're still stuck with, this debt, this amazing, crazy debt that starts to ruin your credit and kind of snowballs into people's lives. It's, when you have one thing go bad on your credit, everything else tumbles. All your other credit cards rely on your credit to continue to provide you the limits that you have and the interest rates that you get. And, when one goes south, they all raise their interest rates and lower your limits, and it turns your credit horrible and your life kind of becomes really difficult financially. And it's something that's not necessarily avoidable. So, we've found a way to go in and go after these lenders, not even the merchants. We don't specifically go after the merchants, but we work with, attorneys who will go after the merchants. But, those cases going after a vet clinic or going after a pet store, it's in depth, it's long, and a lot of times it requires a lot of money out of your pocket to hire that lawyer, because they have to pay bills too, right? So where we come in is there are a lot of laws, especially in Florida. We're based in Florida. We have 7 offices all over the state. And what we have found is that based on the case law here, the lender is responsible for the bad actions of the merchant. So if we can prove or have a really good case to show that they sold this animal with a problem, or they provided bad care, and there's another vet who's willing to back you up and say, yeah, that's not what should have happened. When we have those circumstances where we can pretty much prove that someone did something wrong, then we'll go in on the financial side and sue the lender and sue the credit bureaus to get them to fix this error and resolve this for the clients. And the laws that we use don't provide a lot of money as far as recompense for the clients, They do provide that our fees get paid. So when we do these things, we don't charge our clients anything. They don't pay for us to send the dispute letters that we send or set the case up. They don't pay for anything. We front all the filing fees and court costs, etc. And the only thing we bill is our time, and we don't bill our clients. We bill the opposing side. If we don't win, we don't get paid. So we're obviously not going to take on a case that's not going to actually come to fruition.
Right.
But the statutory damages that come to a client based on the laws that we use are small. They're only $1,000. But where we excel at making the clients happy and getting them relief is getting the lender to waive the debt. Every time we've sued on one of these cases, that has happened. The lender waives the debt. And on top of that, we get the credit bureaus to agree to never ever put that account back on their credit. So the whole thing's deleted as if it never was.
Okay, so I walk into my vet with my dog, and the vet examines my dog, and much to my surprise, the dog needs an operation for $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the money in my checking account. I don't have credit cards with enough of a credit limit to cover that amount. So here comes the Care Credit application. So I fill it out, and lo and behold, I'm approved. So the treatment is given, but during that treatment, something goes wrong, and my pet passes away. I get a veterinarian to say, yeah, that vet practiced below the standard of care, committed malpractice, and here's my letter that affirms that. I bring that letter to you, and I say, I'm not paying $10,000. This vet caused the death of my dog. What do you do?
From there, we get all your information. We give you the retainer to review. We sign you up. At that point, once you're, a client, we send a dispute letter, just a plain, it's detailed, but it's not crazy detailed. We attach a copy of the letter from your vet proving that, they did something wrong or there was malpractice. And we dispute it with the lender and the 3 credit reporting agencies. We wait 30 to 45 days, depending on what kind of responses are received. Sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't. We may have to send follow-up letters to the credit bureaus, but ultimately, within, I would say, 2 months of sending that dispute letter, we have a lawsuit initiated. We sue the lender and we sue the 3 credit bureaus, the credit reporting agencies, and we sue them in federal court. At that point, it's a totally separate issue and a totally separate lawsuit from whatever attorney is working on suing the vets. Because again, we only deal with it from a financial aspect. So our dispute basically details what went wrong and alleges that, it sounds harsh, but alleges that they sold a faulty product, whether they sold you a dog or they sold you services, but we allege that they sold you a faulty product and you did not receive a benefit for taking out that loan and making the payment to the merchant. And we proceed with our case. It takes sometimes 3 to 9 months, depending on how much they fight. Usually the credit bureaus will wrap up relatively quickly because they recognize when they don't perform their required investigations. So, they'll wrap up relatively quickly. So the person's credit usually gets fixed within, I would say, 3 to 5 months. And then after that, we're dealing with the lender at that point to get them to relieve the consumer of the balance that's owed. And, even if we came across a case where it hasn't happened yet, but if we came across a case where a lender absolutely refused and, we had to take it to trial, we would. But if we lost for whatever reason, at a bare minimum, the credit bureaus have already agreed to suppress. So they may get letters or phone calls or, potentially someone collecting from them if we aren't successful against the lender. But ultimately, at least their credit isn't isn't affected anymore, and it's not reflecting on there. So
Okay, so I'm sorry.
that's
Go
the
ahead.
benefit. That's the benefit that our clients get. They don't really, we don't get our clients money. We get them a result. It's a different,
Okay,
you know,
so in the scenario I gave you,
mhm,
my best outcome
is that
is,
you don't owe the money anymore.
and the $1,000 is how significant how?
That $1,000 is if we can't settle with the like if we have to go to trial and we win and we get a monetary award from the court, the $1,000 would be towards the client, and then our attorney's fees are separate. That's if we have to get there and go to trial, but it hasn't happened yet. And when we settle, we usually, like, for example, if you, let's take your $10,000 case, you know, as an example, that $10,000 that you owe them, they will say to us, okay, you know, there's statutory damages involved plus your fees. You know, we're agreeing to waive the debt if, you know, we don't have to pay the statutory damages. And, you know, that's something that we always agree to, because generally people owe more than $1,000. So I think you would rather not owe the $10,000 than receive $1,000.
Right.
But of course, those things are always discussed with the clients. And we usually just take care of them in the beginning and say, listen, you know, you give us authority to waive your statutory damages if we can waive the debt, if we can get them to waive the debt. And that's kind of how we go into things. So it's less confusing in the end for everybody.
So I mean, unless I'm misunderstanding, it sounds like kind of a win-win for the consumer. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we have not experienced any negative fallout from this for the consumer in any way. And even doing what we do even still leaves the merchant, like the vet or the puppy mill that sold you your puppy, it still leaves them on the hook to be sued by like another lawyer that does that kind of work, that sues on those kind of cases.
Okay, all
Because
right.
remember, we're just doing the financial part of it.
Okay, so
They do the other.
I did not introduce Christie's one of our members. Do you have any questions for Myrna of any kind?
I actually do. So, you know, I look at the reviews a lot, especially of the vet center that I've had issues with, and I see people complaining about this. So what would I, and if I wanted to reply to them and say, you need to contact this type of attorney, you know, what would I want to, what kind of response would I want to give them?
I honestly do not know of another firm, at least in Florida, that does this, that has figured out this kind of backwards way of getting to these people. There are lots of consumer defense firms in Florida, and there are lots of them that sue on the same laws that we sue on. But I don't think anyone has actually, besides our firm, gone in and tried to use these normal consumer defense, you know, laws, federal and state, to apply them to these kind of, you know, pet situations. So I don't think I know of any other firm that is, you know, going on the offense for consumers with veterinarian issues or you know, sales issues. You can always refer them to us. Obviously, we found it's working. We're excited to take on more clients and do this more often. And
So
I
would
think
you do that in another state, like for like in
it can be done
state?
anywhere. It can be done any state because it's federal law that we're relying on. So it covers the whole
Got it.
United States. The trouble you're going to find is finding an attorney who's confident enough in the type of case to say, okay, I will do this. A lot of attorneys may not want to do it without charging their clients like we do.
But so can I give I guess then my question is, can I give them your firm's name and number and you consult with them?
Sure. We do have people we can refer to in other states. And if the worst case scenario, the person lives in a state that we don't have someone, we never want to see anybody suffer just because of where they live or whatever. So if if they want, I can try and help find an attorney and maybe explain to that attorney what we do so that they can perform it there for the client. We can also help the client set it up so that it's ready to go to just give to an attorney, and because we set up our own cases. So maybe an attorney would be less likely to take it if there was this legwork that still needed to be done. So that's something we could help your clients with regardless where they are, is doing the legwork to set up the case.
Okay, all right, great, thanks.
For sure.
So if same scenario, but a little different ending. If I go in, I get the care credit approved. They pay the vet, the surgery is successful. Now I start paying care credit every month for the use of their money. Under what circumstance, well, other than missing a payment, how does it really start to go south for a consumer like me if I don't make my monthly payments? Is there additional peril?
Fallout?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that applies to any credit card or any debt that you've got reporting to your credit. Credit cards in the last decade or so have started to really be, it's almost like they're working together, whether they're competition or not. But basically, it used to be that you got your credit limit, they reviewed it based on their records with you and your payment history with them. And now it's not that anymore. They check credit sometimes up to quarterly. And if you've missed payments, like if let's say you have a Capital One and you have a Discover, if you miss the payments on your Discover card and you're 30 days late and it starts hitting your credit, and Capital One checks your credit and sees that, or sees your score going down, they will use that as an excuse. And it's built into their contracts that they can do this now. They will use that as an excuse to take you to the highest interest rate that they have, or even go so far as to reduce your credit limit. So you now have, you still owe them, $3,000 to $5,000, and where you had a $10,000 limit, now you have a $5,000 limit, and you're either at 70 to 80% utilization or even 100% utilization. Right. So there goes another hit to your credit, which drops your score even more. And then your other credit card, they all start doing the same thing. It snowballs. Okay. So it's really important that when we take out credit or we use credit, that we either, credit cards are not there to make money off people that make payments. They don't make money off people that actually pay their credit card off every month. They make money off of people that miss payments or that just make the minimum payment, and then they're just paying interest forever. It's a dangerous cycle. And if you're not taught and you don't know how to play it basically with the credit cards, you end up really out of pocket a lot more than you ever benefited by using them.
So what would you suggest as advice or any kind of tips, if there are any, to a consumer that walks in and needs to apply for care credit on the spot because of some unexpected event that happened while at the vet or under any circumstances? What should they look for? Is there anything they should look for in the contract before they sign? Anything like that?
I mean, look at the interest rate, read the terms. They're really long usually, and it's fine print, but they are supposed to be in plain English. So as long as you understand what you're getting into and you make you can't make an emotional decision as far as credit goes. They're not one and the same. And I know it's really hard when you're in that position to say, well, if I don't do this, I could lose my best friend or, my kid, kind of. So you wouldn't do that. You would probably just take what you could get. But, there's other options. If you have decent credit or midway credit, go to your bank and try and get a personal loan. Sometimes time doesn't allow for that, if you're in an emergency situation. Right. But, also if you have a good vet, I would imagine they wouldn't, I don't know, because I luckily have had healthy animals, but I would imagine they wouldn't let your animal die before you had the opportunity to go get credit or get some kind of payment.
Don't imagine that.
No.
Unfortunately.
It sucks then.
I believe most vets are ethical. There's a few bad actors in the profession that we pursue. And I've heard stories where they literally would say, we need $4,000 before we can look at your companion animal. And, some people have to walk out with the animals. Some people, find a way to pay. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, they're not all stellar individuals, we'll put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, they take advantage of your emotions.
Exactly.
It's a shame. But in those circumstances, when you're really under duress, I don't think there's much that you can do other
No.
than take it or leave it.
Exactly.
So if you're in that position and it doesn't work and you still end up losing, then hopefully someone like us can step in and help you. Or someone like Lauren Turner, who's we know is really big in the animal world, can really come in and help you out.
Christy, Colleen, do you guys have any questions?
Is there like a length of time that like a situation passes that you have to cut off and be like, we won't take this case, unfortunately?
There is a length, but it doesn't really apply to our case per se. If you're suing the merchant or the person who sold you the services or the pet, I believe those cases have a statute of limitation that's like a year long. I think it's 1 year, but ours runs from the date you knew or should have known. So, and it's a 2-year statute of limitations. So if you knew that the vet didn't do good work and you found out, say in January of 2020, you have until January of 2022 to file your lawsuit based on our financial, our way. You have 2 years to file that lawsuit. So we can go back and help someone whose pet died a year and a half ago. It's not an issue.
Is that based on like the billing date, would you say?
It's based on when you should have known that there was a problem with the account. And that is when you should have known you got no service or faulty services. So yeah, if it's the date of the surgery, or let's say they did the surgery and you didn't know it wasn't, successful, and you didn't find out for 3 more months, and then you took it back to the vet, you took the animal back to the vet, and then they explained to you that there's a problem, it would run from that date, But obviously it's really, really important that people document as much as possible and get what they can from the vets that are helping them, to show, when things happen. A timeline is always really, really important for us. Like I will sit there and talk to a person and try and walk them through, okay, the account was opened on this day. So is this the day your animal got sick? And then did your animal recover at all? And if they did, okay, when did you notice that there was a problem? You have to put it all in a timeline so that way we can know what days we're working with.
So the people who come to you should be prepared to like provide like a paper trail, documented, assets for you guys to be able to make your case, right?
Yeah, we need them to help us too. But it's not too much. We don't require too much. Just have your backup to show that you were wronged. That's kind of a common sense way of looking at it.
Right.
Myrna, how many cases or what percentage of the cases that you guys handle in either in your office or all 7 offices would you say involve a veterinarian?
It's very, it's small, honestly. We've mostly been dealing with Petland.
Okay.
They are notorious, and we've had issues where they've sold really
Right.
sick dogs to people as healthy animals.
Yeah.
So there's another puppy place in Orlando too that we've really had a fair amount of work with. And to be honest, initially when we were looking at this, we didn't want to do the vet cases because we were worried that the vets would have defenses, like really good defenses, as to why they did what they did, or, and I'm not, nobody in our firm is like, has a medical background. It's one thing to see a vet saying, hey, this dog had this on this day. That's an easy, clear cut thing. But when you have like one vet saying, oh, this person did this wrong, and this vet saying, no, I didn't do this wrong, and then, you know, maybe they provide an expert witness, it's a little more risky. So, you know, but I think we would still take on the case depending on the circumstances, unless it was really, really convoluted. We might not.
Okay, Are you aware of any cases that you guys have handled where a vet was involved and the vet was found liable for one thing or another?
No, because remember, our case doesn't hinge on whether they actually, like, whether they're liable or anything like that, because we're not suing the vet.
I know I'm talking about in term financially, if they were involved, if they offered the care credit and there was some legal entanglement, was the vet ever pursued for that on the financial side?
No.
Okay.
There's no place for us, like the federal laws and the state laws in Florida, at least, for these type of cases, doesn't provide you going after the merchant. That's another type of lawsuit.
Okay.
We base our practice on lending and collecting debts. So if they do something incorrect in that aspect, we're all over it. But for going after the veterinarians or going after, you know, whoever sold you the animal, that's another firm that would need to do that.
Okay. All right.
They're two separate issues.
All right, cool. All right, I guess we'll wrap up. Do you have any final thoughts, comments, tips, suggestions for our members?
Just document, and do your very best to not make emotional decisions if you can. Otherwise, if you can't, do what you have to do, save your animal, get to a place if you can, and then consult and see if someone can help you if you're in a bind. But at least now there is at least one place in Florida that you can come to with this.
Okay, so that's a good segue into my next final thought. Tell everybody where you're located, where the other 6 officers are located, and you know, how to contact you, that kind of thing.
Well, we have a toll-free number. It's 844-279-1112. We are located in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, Duval, which is Jacksonville, Hillsborough, which is Tampa, Orlando, which is Orange County. And we do have 2 offices actually in Naples and Lee County, and Fort Myers area.
Okay.
So we're kind of spread out.
Yeah.
And that 800 number will take you to our main office. All our girls work from home. We have, you know, secretaries answering the phones. They all work from home. So if you need an appointment, we can schedule one for you, but we're trying to, with COVID, we do all Zoom appointments or by phone. And we function through email. So it doesn't matter where you are. If we don't have an office local, it doesn't matter. As long as you have internet and a phone, we can probably help you. Okay, great. Very cool. Thanks to you, Myrna Lucoff. Thank you. Thank our members for joining us. Thank you, Colleen. Usual outstanding job. And we'll see you guys soon on another podcast. Take care. Thank you.